Welcome to episode 6 of Myths from Beyond, where we, every episode, will do a deep dive into an entity or creature in myths, legends, and folklore, or a haunted place from all around the world. In this episode, we are going to stay in Sweden and go to Ängsö Castle and Church. The castle and the church are on an island in Lake Mälaren between Västerås and Enköping. Ängsö as a place is mentioned in writing as early as 1185, and back then it belonged to Riseberga Abbey. But in 1453 the land came into the hands of the Sparre family. In the 1480s, Bengt Fadersson Sparre built the first stone castle. It is on this foundation that the current castle stands on. The older Sparre family, Sparre of Tofta, owned the castle until 1710, and from 1710 to 1971 the castle was owned by the Piper family. 1971 to 2010 the castle was owned by the Foundation for Nature Conservation and Outdoor Life in Västmanland County, and from 2010 to now the castle is owned by the Västmanna Foundation and is a museum during the summer. Ängsö Castle is an almost cubic building made of stone and brick with 4 floors, and the lower parts are completely medieval. In the 1630s the castle was rebuilt and expanded, and between 1740 to 1741 the top floor and the mansard roof were built, crowned with a lantern. A lantern is a small decorative tower that provides light and ventilation, and it looks like the top of a lighthouse. In 1965 the castle became a listed building. A listed building is something that is given to cultural, historical buildings, environment, and facilities, and this means that they become protected. Since 1397, Sweden was under Danish rule, and in 1520 the Danish king Christian II had a large number of Swedish nobles and church leaders executed in what is called the Stockholm bloodbath. After this, a rebellion against the Danish king started, leading to a power struggle that resulted in Sweden's independence on June 6, 1523. In 1522, the future king Gustav Vasa besieged and captured Ängsö Castle because the owner, Knut Bengtsson Sparre, supported the Danish king. This made the castle a small but important part of the fight. The church is built entirely of brick and dates from 1340. It is the best preserved medieval church, as well as one of the oldest rural churches in Sweden. In the church room there are 6 original brick vaults, painted with elaborate and completely unique frescoes, including Sweden's oldest depiction of the national coat of arms, the 3 crowns. Among the church furnishings are a baptismal font from the 13th century and one of the country's best preserved 18th century organs. In the 1630s, the southern cross arm was turned into a burial chapel for the Sparre family. The Piper family renovated the church during the 1700s, and a new bell tower replaced the old one. The bell was moved to the castle, where it still hangs today. In 1780, the organ loft was built, and in 1889 the roof was changed from shingles to iron. Now, let's talk about the hauntings. Anders Luxemburg was King Charles XII's court jester. He followed the king during his final years and was present at the king's funeral at Fredriksten in 1718. After the king's death, Anders took a job with the Piper family at Ängsö Castle. He was very appreciated there for his music playing and songs in, among other languages, French and Italian. After his death, he was buried at Ängsö cemetery, and his gravestone is still there today. It is said that he enjoyed himself so much that his spirit didn't want to leave the castle and therefore stayed behind. His spirit is described as a small hunchbacked man in a grey cape or overcoat. He is often seen in the castle park or on the road between the castle and the church. King Charles XII's horse Brandklipparen. The horse, Brandklipparen, was the king's loyal horse during much of his military campaigns. After the king's death, Anders Luxemburg took the horse to Ängsö castle. One night in 1740, the horse got scared in the stable, and when the gates were opened, it ran out in panic and crashed straight into the wall between the castle and the church. You can hear the sound of galloping horse hoofs across the yard. Some have also seen a transparent horse racing in wild gallop, only to disappear when it reaches the wall where it died. The dog Cotillion. Countess Eva Sofia von Fersen had a favorite dog named Cotillion, who always traveled with her. But on one of her visits to Ängsö castle, Cotillion suddenly died at the countess's feet, and it was buried in the castle park with a memorial stone in French. A small dog-shaped figure can be seen running between the dining room and the lounge, as if it's looking for its owner, but it disappears when you follow it. You can also hear scraping claws on the floor in the large dining room. Brita Båt. Brita Båt is the most famous ghost at Ängsö castle. It is said that she appears every evening and drags her feet through the king's room and further into the grand ballroom. There is a well-known ghost story told during Christmas time in the Nordic countries called the Christmas Mass of the Dead. Some say it's about Brita Båt, and this is one version of it. On Christmas Eve, Brita asked her chambermaid to wake her up early so she would be able to make the Christmas morning mass on time. When she woke up, she looked out the window and noticed that there was light in Ängsö church. She thought the chambermaid had overslept or forgotten to wake her, so she hurried to the church. When she opened the door to the church, she was met by a bunch of skeletons and spirits holding a mass in the church. Two ghosts, probably her dead husbands, attacked her. One swung a sword at her, hitting her veil, and the other one threw a big stone. Whether it hit her or not is unclear. She made it home, but the shock caused her to faint, and 3 days later she was dead. Contemporary historical research, however, shows that Brita was only married once, and there is suspected to be some overlap with the previous castle lady Elsa Trolle. She was married 3 times and outlived all 3 husbands. The Ängsö chain, or the Devil's chain. One of the darkest stories is about the Ängsö chain, a long gold chain that still exists in the castle. According to the legend, the castle owner Johan Sigismund Sparre won the chain in a dice game against the devil himself. The devil is said to have pronounced a curse. If the chain leaves the castle, fire will strike Ängsö. You can also hear unexplained sounds and see figures at the castle. You can hear steps in empty rooms, rustling sounds without a visible cause, shadows passing through corridors, and a grey figure that is said to walk right through walls. In the church, there are 3 things that are said to have a supernatural background. We have the bloodstone. The stone that, according to legend, was thrown at Brita Båt is said to be built into the cemetery wall. According to some stories, the stone hit Rita, and there are red stains that are supposed to be Rita's blood. Some even say that the stone itself is supposed to bleed. The sword. The sword that, according to legend again, is said to have ripped off a piece of Brita's veil hung in the church, along with a piece of cloth that is said to be the veil, the troll stone. According to legend, there was a dark stone in a giant's pit near Rysbo farm in Ängsö. People believe that the stone caused poor crops, diseases among the animals, and general bad luck for the people in the area. To get rid of the curse, the villagers supposedly dragged the stone, put it in a boat, and rowed out to Granfjärden. There they sank the stone in deep water, but somehow the stone came back to the village, which strengthened the belief that it had supernatural powers. The stone was taken to Ängsö church, where it became known as a troll stone. Churches were often places where people put objects considered dangerous or supernatural, because the holiness of the church was thought to be able to neutralize them. The fascinating thing about the troll stone is that it represents an even older type of Swedish folklore. Not ghosts, but the belief that natural objects themselves could carry misfortune or supernatural powers. Over time, a belief arose that anyone who touches the troll stone would be struck by misfortune or an early death. The church has also a few smaller hauntings, but as a sacred place, there aren't many or big ones. Anders Luxemburg is sometimes seen around the cemetery. You can see shadows, or you can hear gravel crunching on the feet that don't seem to belong to anyone alive, and you can see figures that just disappears. So, as the sun sets over Ängsö, the castle and church seem to take on a life of their own. Shadows stretch across the ancient walls, and the silence is broken only by the whisper of the wind through the trees. For centuries, stories of ghostly figures and unexplained sounds have echoed through the historic buildings. Whether the legends are true or simply the product of imagination, one thing is certain. When darkness falls on Ängsö, the mystery remains, leaving visitors to wonder if they are truly alone. So, would you dare to visit Ängsö yourself? Walk through the castle's silent corridors, stand in the shadow of the old church, and listen for the footsteps that some say still echo from the past. Perhaps you will leave with nothing more than memories and photographs. Or perhaps, as the mist begins to rise and the last light fades from the sky, you will hear something that you can't explain. The only way to know for sure is to visit and discover what may still be waiting in the darkness. If you like this and want to hear more myths, legends and folklores from all around the world, then please like and subscribe. And until next time, take care.